Outside of the double dungeon, Jinchul arrives at the scene as Boldcut tells everyone from the surveillance team to move out the fucking way. Jinchul thought that even though he's gathered 7 elite hunters from the association, he already knows they aren't going to be a single bit of help, but is instead preparing for a worst-case scenario. Jinchul can feel the immense pressure coming from the gate, leaving him stricken with fear, unable to even move. As a blade grazes his neck, Jinchul asks if anyone else was picking this up, saying that he felt a terrifying storm of mana coming from the gate, making him feel like he was about to die any second. Jinchul asked his subordinate if there were any major guilds on standby, and he responds, saying that the Hunters Guild is on standby to raid. He then asks about their 2 S ranks, and he responds that both Mami Cha and Choi Jong-in have both agreed to participate. Jinchul nervously tells him to put in an emergency request with the Hunters Guild, since they need their assistance quick. Inside the gate, the architect spawns 6 arms out of his back, making Rizzy-Woo nervous because of the pressure he was giving off. The final test, Jin-Woo versus the architect, begins now. The statue suddenly disappears from its place, appearing right next to him, as he punches him with brute strength without being able to react, sending him flying to Timbuktu, crashing into the wall. The blow being so powerful that it made Drip-Woo spew blood. Without being able to catch his breath, the architect launches a punch, but Drippy-Woo managed to dodge it at the last second. But 2 more fists came flying at him point blank, as the architect Gatling punches the living shit out of him without letting up. The architect smiles, thinking this is too easy, but gets shocked by what he sees. Drizzy-Woo managed to block every single punch that was being thrown at him, staring deep into the eyes of the architect. He grins while saying he's impressive, truly impressive, saying that he's exceeding his expectations. A punch managed to land on Jin-Woo, making the architect think he's finally got him, but he slides on its arm, minimizing impact, delivering a shocking blow right to the architect's face, which sent him flying to the other side of the room. "Who knew I'd have so much fun fighting against a human?" he said, stating that he would have never thought a human could be a worthy opponent for him. "How very amusing," he said, as the other side of his mask crumbled, revealing his ugly side. Blood filled Jin-Woo's peripheral vision as he tells the architect that he still has loads of questions to ask him, why he constructed the system, why he chose him as its player, and what's happening to the world right now. Suddenly started rushing towards him, basically saying, "Wouldn't you like to know, Weather Boy?" Rizzy-Woo dashes towards him, but since close combat puts him at a disadvantage, he activates the skill Dominator's Authority. The architect realizes he's trying to attack from a distance, activating the same exact skill, counteracting Jin-Woo's attack, which caused him to get pushed back by the explosion caused by both skills colliding. Since he can use the exact same skill as him, attacking from a distance is pointless. The architect grins, saying that it didn't matter, whether he killed him or not. The answers he will receive are already predetermined, spawning weapons out of thin air, each hand holding a different weapon, as he says that the answers he's getting were predetermined since the moment he even designed the system. Confused, Drizzy-Woo asks how the architect was even able to design something like this, asking how he was able to give him such powers. He responds, saying that he did not only not choose him, but was in fact against the idea of him becoming the player, saying he's simply the architect and moderator of the player breeding system. Since his design is perfect, it meant whoever the system chose was the best possible candidate to inherit it. The architect leaps into the air, saying that for the remaining time he'll go all out, crushing the ground below him. Jin-Woo dashes towards him as they clash with immeasurable speeds. As the fight goes on, Drip-Woo can feel that his senses are getting sharper, gaining the confidence to think he can actually beat him. A long sword, spear, and blade to his right, axe and hammer to his left. He can finally feel every single move he's making, dodging every single attack that was thrown at him. The architect's mask starts to crack. He's confused as to how he is able to block every single one of his attacks and even counterattack. Even though he's using his full strength, he's getting even faster, ending with one of his arms getting sliced off. The architect can't believe his eyes. He may be in a fake body, but Rizzy-Woo being able to inflict pain on him is absolutely shocking for him. He finally understands. the reason why Drippy Woo was chosen as the player of the system. The architect states how it may only be a small fraction, but it's mixed in there. He starts crashing out, shouting that he's just a mere human, saying, "How dare you!" With 3 minutes left on the timer, the previously defeated Stone Knights start awakening, as well as God's statue. Since he doesn't have much time left, Drizzy Woo lunges forward, leaping straight into the tiger's den. He activates the skill Dominator's Authority, punching the ground with immense strength, dispersing the statues. As he dashes towards the next enemy, a huge fist crushes the spot Drizzy Woo was standing on, but misses terribly since he managed to dodge it. He dashes straight for the architect as rapid clashes between both of them ensue. He manages to cut off 2 of the statue's arms, but the statue counterattacks, grazing his stomach. As he jumped backwards, he was attacked by an unknown assailant, shocking Jin-Woo. He turns back, angering him since it was the same statue who had cut off his leg the first time he was here. He leaps towards the shield statue, crushing its head in one fell swoop, looking back at the architect with a murderous gaze, making him start yelling for some reason. With 2 minutes and 21 seconds left on the timer, Jin-Woo manages to slash off 2 more of the architect's arms as a huge explosion occurs because of the battle. 2 minutes and 14 seconds left on the timer, the smoke starts clearing up. Drizzy Woo points his dagger towards the architect's neck as he says, "I've lost. The test is over." His body is in complete shambles as the battle ends with 2 minutes and 11 seconds left on the timer. He points towards him, saying that the answer is within him. Drizzy Woo gets confused as to what he meant by within him as a system panel pops up asking if he wanted the data stored in his memory to be retrieved. He says, "The choice is yours." Jin-Woo is unsure if going through with this would be the best course of action, but after thinking for a while, he says, "Yes, I accept." Golden light suddenly starts exuding all around him, pushing him back as the light shines so bright nothing else can be perceived. Inside a shadowy realm, an army of millions of monsters can be seen marching through a canyon. In a spiritual form, Drippy Woo is in absolute astonishment seeing all of them jumbled up. Weirdly enough, every single one of the monsters can be seen looking up at the sky. Drip Woo glances behind him, asking what they were looking at, leading him to be in utter shock. Multiple enormous-sized gates could be seen covering the sky, seeming just as big as the single gate that had appeared in Japan. A purple sky and hordes of monsters. This place can't possibly be Earth, he thought to himself. If this army made up of ice elves, high orcs, goblins, giants, and countless other species were to invade Earth, even the entire human race wouldn't stand a chance against them. One of the gates in the sky starts to crack, shattering the entrance into pieces as angel-like figures cross through the gate. It didn't take long to figure out what would happen next. Hundreds of thousands of angels start gushing out of the shattered gates in the sky, shocking Drizzy Woo as he's witnessing the sight in front of him. One of the angels blows a war horn as an all-out war between the Silver Soldiers and the monsters break out. The sounds of clashing weapons and crushed armor filled the air. Pools of blood began to stain the battlefield as the war cries quickly turned into screams of agony. The Silver Soldiers were absolutely dominating in the minor scuffle, but just as they were about to take the victory royale, they suddenly came to a halt. A shadowy being steps into the fray, nonchalantly saying the word, "Arise." Drip Woo notices the skill he's using as the domain of the monarch envelops the entire battlefield, reviving every single monster that had fallen in battle using the skill shadow extraction. Drippy Woo is in complete awe, asking himself if he was the monarch of the shadows. Immortality, an army that never dies. The monsters sacrificed their lives, but death wasn't the end for them. Their blood grew dark and dense, granting them a newfound strength. As Drizzy Woo watches this unfold, he can't help but be astonished by the fact he can summon so many shadow soldiers. Even he can't compare to someone like that. The fallen monsters emerged from death's embrace and stormed towards the Silver Soldiers. Even though their bodies could be slashed to pieces, they would regenerate in the fraction of a second like nothing ever happened. The black and silver armies became entangled in a fierce battle. Explosions erupted and the ground shook beneath them. Even though the Silver Soldiers would have won the battle by a landslide, the appearance of a single individual had turned the tides completely. The Shadow Monarch pulls out an enormous blade, and as his horse roars, he manages to destroy multiple soldiers in a single slash. Then, as the horse kept dashing forward, he activates the skill Dominator's Authority, crushing the soldiers with ease. This left Drip Woo in absolutely shock before the might the previous Shadow Monarch displayed. The Shadow Soldiers had repeated the cycle of death and revival to wipe out their enemies. Wherever the Monarch went, a trail of destruction was left in his wake. The Shadow Army getting the victory royale seemed imminent. That is until they showed up. Hit that follow thing.